Fellas, welcome back. Today we are talking about the Nintendo Switch 2, which had its Nintendo Direct yesterday. Now, this Nintendo Direct had a lot of cool things announced and talked about, but also some things that really disappointed me and makes me think Nintendo might be a little greedy. Yeah, I know it's a controversial opinion to have. No, what am I saying? We all know Nintendo has been being greedy. Now, I've been a Nintendo fan for a good portion of my life. My first game ever was Pokemon Blue. I grew up on the Game Boy, Nintendo DS. I'm not a fan, you know? I would always defend Nintendo in some way, but it's time I take a stand. It's time I take a stand and we talk about the pure greed Nintendo has had lately. First, I'm going to talk about some highlights from the Direct because there were good things that they mentioned that I would like to talk about before I start crapping on Nintendo. For starters, they announced Mario Kart World, which is a brand new game in the Mario Kart series. I'm super excited. It looks good. It looks clean. One of the first things I noticed is they offer new costumes for each of the characters that you can drive as. As a person who loves customization, especially of the characters you play as, this was a really neat feature. It wasn't clear if these outfits would come from power-ups or if you could actually just customize your characters or both, because it shows them having a fucking burger and then they change outfits. I don't know how that makes sense. When I eat burgers, I just get fat. But when they do it, they change outfits. That's magic. If magic's real, that's magic. They also show off a lot of new characters like the Moo Moo Meadows cow, which caught me so off guard. I'm like, bro, aren't you supposed to be like on the grass or something? Why are you in a cart, bro? Get off of that. Like my brain, it took my brain a second to process. Since I've played Moo Moo Meadows so much growing up, it was just so hard to correlate. Oh, you're driving the cars now. I guess they got really tired of getting run over, so they wanted to run us over now. I noticed in the background, there's tons of characters you can drive as, like the colorful beetle from the Mario Land games, Goomba. I even saw like the little spiky dude that like stacks up. Yeah, he was a driver too. On top of all the new characters they're adding, there's also 24 racers now. That's a lot of people. There's also some new modes, and one of the ones I'm excited for is Knockout Tour, which pretty much is you drive from one course all the way to another course, and they're all like connected. So you'll drive through like 5 different courses, and there's checkpoints. And as you get closer and closer to the end of the race, it will kick more and more people out if they're in last place. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, because I don't know how else to describe it. There's a free roam mode. It wasn't very interesting. Hopefully they add like quests and like collectibles, something to make it more interesting. Other than that, it's just a way to free roam the entire world of Mario Kart World. All right, let's talk about the next feature, GameChat. So Nintendo has released a way to talk to your friends. I know they were a little late to the punch. They were a little late to it. I mean, Xbox did it like 15 years ago, but there is now a way you can talk to your friends, not through your phone. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. This new feature actually gives me a lot of vibes like Discord, where you can talk with your friends. You can also share your screen, which looks like shit, but hey, you can share your screen. Or you can also share your face through the Nintendo Switch camera. It doesn't have a built-in camera. You have to buy an external camera. God only knows how much that might be. And overall, it just seems like a cool, fun little feature that Nintendo was a little behind on, but we're glad you added. Let's talk about GameShare. GameShare is very similar to DS Download Play in the sense that one person owns a copy of the game and can actually let other people borrow it in a sense so they can play locally with each other. I like this feature. Gives me Nintendo DS vibes, and that makes me a little happy because I grew up on the Nintendo DS. There were days that I was in the cafeteria at lunch and my friend would boot up Mario Kart for the DS and I would download play, and we'd play for the 30 minutes that school lunch was. But it was a beautiful experience. Also, they announced a bunch of third-party games coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm not gonna go over them all. A few games I'm excited for: Street Fighter 6. They have amiibos coming. I'm a sucker for Street Fighter 6, so the amiibos are a nice little touch, and I'll love to play that game on the go. Elden Ring, it looks like it's running at 30 frames a second, if you ask me. I don't know if I'm just seeing things. If you're not planning to play this game on the go, maybe play it on PC. But overall, it's cool. It's cool that it's going to be on the Switch too. The Switch 1 couldn't handle that shit. If the Switch 1 tried playing that game, it would be polygons. Be like, it would look like Mario 64. Actually, that would be so sick. I would love to see like an Elden Ring 64. That would be so cool. And there's also Deltarune. I haven't played Deltarune yet. I want to check it out, and this might be my chance to. Also, I can't get away with talking about third-party games without talking about the new From Software game that looks absolutely amazing. Like, this came completely out of nowhere, and as someone who has played From Software games and has yet to beat any of them because I'm bad at games, I'm still hyped for this one. It's an exclusive for the Switch, so I'm excited to see how it turns out. Just look up the trailer. The trailer will be in the description. Just watch it. This game looks peak. Also, there's GameCube games coming to the Switch too. That's pretty hype. Wind Waker on the Switch. That's pretty hype. There's also a bunch of games they announced coming to the Switch through the GameCube service. I'm hyped for it. Nintendo releases these games at a snail pace. Just bring back Virtual Console. You guys were so much quicker with that. I'll digress. Overall, a positive for me. All right, guys, fellas, this next thing is the absolute most positive thing that came out of this trailer for me. This announcement literally made me so happy. I called like 3 people afterwards, like, yo, did you hear about this? Yo, they just announced this. And that would be Kirby Air Ride 2 or Kirby Airriders. Okay, you guys don't know how much fucking Kirby Air Ride I've played in my life. I love that game. I was so excited when I saw this. When I initially saw it and like Kirby's like punching the star, I'm like, oh, this is the new Smash Bros that everyone's been like leaking and talking about. And then the moment it showed the thruster pointing out of the star, my brain took a moment to process until so much dopamine just shot up there, dude. I never thought there would be a world where they would make a sequel to Kirby Air Ride because it's such a game not known by people, I feel like. Then there was also the announcement of Donkey Kong Bonanza. And I gotta say, this game looks so gorgeous. The mechanics look fun. The world looks interesting. I am excited for this game to come out, and I do think I will be picking this one up. I don't think I'm gonna get into it as much as I got into Mario Odyssey, but it does look as good as Mario Odyssey. So that's speaking to the quality that they put into this Donkey Kong game. And that was kind of it for the highlights for me. I mean, those were the big things that I saw, and I was like, these things are things that make me happy. Now we're going to talk about the things that make Jayden sad, make Jayden cry at night, make Jayden have crippling depression. Now, I already hear you guys saying in the comments, Jayden, why would a new Nintendo game be a negative? Why would this be a negative? Well, that's actually quite simple, but before we jump into that, let me talk about what the game is first. The game introduces you to the Nintendo Switch 2 and all the new cool features it has. It has tech demos, mini games, little instructional panels that show you how certain mechanisms in the console works. Now, overall, this game looks like a cool add-on to the Switch 2, like something I would have packaged with my Nintendo Switch 2. So it gives me something to mess around with when I get my console. Was I sorely mistaken? Is a download-only game that will cost money. You will not get it for free. And to me, this doesn't make sense. With the Wii, you got Wii Sports for free. With the Wii U, you got Nintendo Land for free. And what the purpose of these games were to show off what those consoles could do. So with Wii Sports, it showed off how the Wii remote can handle motion, all the features of the console, and was a really cool addition to the Wii that you got when you bought the console. Nintendo Land was the same thing. It showed off what the Wii U could do. It used the gamepad a lot to show how games can work with the gamepad, but also you can still play on your main screen. They were cool games. In a sense, they were over-glorified tech demos, in a sense. Very polished tech demos, just to show you how the console works and what it is capable of. Now, tell me what's different about that and Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. I don't see much of a difference there. And it doesn't seem like it has a lot of content to offer that makes it worth paying money for, as it is just a glorified tech demo, but less polished than Wii Sports and Nintendo Land. Now, I'm making a lot of assumptions as they didn't show a lot of this game. So this game could have a lot more to offer that we just haven't seen yet. But honestly, I doubt it because I feel like they would have shown those features off. Now, to me, this was the first thing that showed me Nintendo's greed throughout this direct, as there's only two scenarios that run through my head. Scenario one, the game is released and it's a cheap game. Why not just package it with the console? At that point, you're just trying to save pennies. Scenario two, it's a $60 game or more, as we'll talk about later.
They've never done that before.
This game is not worth that amount of money. I'll say that right now. If this game was 60 bucks, you're better off spending all that money on Steam and buying a bunch of cool indie games. I promise you those will last you a lot longer than this Nintendo Switch 2 welcome tour. So during the direct, this was just the initial thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way and started me down this path of, oh, Nintendo is greedy. Nintendo Switch 2 editions of games. Now, on the surface, this seems like overall harmless. I mean, they're releasing games from the Switch in HD and a better resolution for the Switch 2, but behind the roses and daisies is shit and diarrhea. Because this is another thing that just outright showed me Nintendo's greed. If you already own some of these games on the Switch 1, you'll have to pay a premium to get the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Obviously, if you never own the game, you have to pay full price for the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. But the premium, in some cases, makes sense to me, like in the case of Mario Party Jamboree and Kirby Forgotten Land, as it adds DLC. So paying a little bit extra for that makes sense to me because you're getting extra. You're getting more content. But games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where the game just looks better, to me, I should be getting those for free because those games aren't really offering more. It's just they look better. And like, since these games are developed on stronger software, I imagine there's not much they have to do to make the games look better for the Switch 2. I should be able to transfer over my game that I purchased on the Switch over to the Switch 2 and just have these things on the more powerful console. So imagine there's a Steam game that has graphical settings, right? And to get higher graphics, you have to pay a premium to get those higher graphics. That's how I see it, to be honest. And it's not the consumer's fault that the Switch was shitty hardware. And it's not like you could have played these games anywhere else, right? You had to play them on the Switch. So if you want to play them in this more HD form, you now have to pay a premium for a game you already purchased with no new content or anything. It just looks better on the Switch 2. And to me, that's ridiculous. Dragon Drive. This is a new game by Nintendo. It's not really a negative. Didn't really have anywhere else to put it. I mean, you're people in wheelchairs and you use the Joy-Cons, like you sit them on the table and you like move them forward like that. And like, there's a bunch of interesting controls that go into it. And it's like wheelchair basketball. The only reason why I put it in the negatives is I have a feeling this game's going to be madly overpriced and no one's going to play it. And this game is just going to be a game that was made. Yeah, and also, I want this guy in Smash Bros. Nintendo, make it happen. All right, let's talk about the pricing. The Nintendo Switch 2 console is going to be $450, somewhere around there. To me, that's not like a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, that is $150 more than the initial Switch, but overall, it's a more powerful system. It's similar in pricing to the Steam Deck. I'm not upset about that. What really upsets me is the price of the games. Nintendo will be pricing their games anywhere from $70 to $90. So to me, $60 is already expensive for a game. The game really has to be worth playing for me to spend $60. $90 is not a small amount of money. Neither is $70. That is a lot of money. That games should not be that ridiculously expensive in my mind. So Mario Kart World is going to be $80 and the new Donkey Kong is going to be $70. Yikes, that's expensive. So this makes the price point of the console to me of $450 not nearly as worth it. Because I feel like you buy 3 games, at that point, buy a gaming PC, dog. Buy a Steam Deck. Like genuinely, you can get good indie games that will give you tons of fun and hours on Steam. And then you own them on PC too. Just get a Steam Deck at that point. But I understand this is the only way to get Nintendo exclusives. So Nintendo can just do this and get away with it. And it's really upsetting because me, as someone who is a young adult and can't afford to be buying games left and right, this is very saddening because there are games that I would really love to play, but I might not get the chance to experience due to the price point just being too high. I just think this overall shows Nintendo's greed and how they're willing to just do anything for a few extra bucks, like genuinely. Also, there was the Hyrule Warriors announcement. Forgot to mention that because I was pissed about it because it looked like we were going to follow Zelda's perspective in Tears. I was hyped because I thought it was going to be like a Zelda game. And then it was Hyrule Warriors. And I don't hate Hyrule Warriors, but as a Zelda fan, they're not my favorite. I prefer more classic Zelda games. I don't really like killing tons and tons and tons of goblins. I like killing one or two in very specific, horrible ways. I do have some news before you click off. We do have a new schedule, so uploads are going to be more consistent from here on out. So every other Friday will be a new scripted video, my more quality content. I've been putting a lot of work in the background on writing scripts and coming up with new ideas for videos, and I'm really hyped for you guys to see what's in store. The newest video is going to be on a game called Mindwave, and I'm really excited for you guys to see that. I've been working hard on that. And there's a bunch of more videos to come, so please subscribe. Expect it on April 11th at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'm really hyped for you guys to see it. Also, we're doing live streaming now. I'm hyped about this. We're live streaming twice a week. Tonight, we're actually live streaming Kaizo Ironmon. And doing this has been a pain in my butt. It's for a video I'm working on. So come check it out. It's on tonight at 11:45 a.m. Here's the streaming schedule, by the way. Write it down in your calendar so you don't miss it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time.